And the question is, do you believe that Ilhan Omar, do you believe that she had no idea that this was happening among her people? Her people. I'm just asking the question. Hey, welcome to the TMYK show. I am your host, Mike, better known as Mo, where you get the truth uncut. I'd like to just, first off, give my prayers and condolences to the families and victims of those who was in this horrific shooting over the weekend up in Stockton, California. I just, it's sad what's going on in our neighborhoods. And these are things that Donald Trump is trying to really alleviate out of our neighborhoods by sending in the National Guards. But we got people that are fighting against that type of resolve when it comes to our neighborhoods being safe. But talk to those in Memphis, talk to those in Washington, D.C. With the presence of the National Guards, the cities and neighborhoods seem to be much, much safer. But now let's find out what this issue is that they're talking about that's got everybody in an uproar, and they are talking about Minnesota and the Somalians. Let's see what they're talking about here.
A massive fraud scheme uncovered in Minnesota found money intended for social services has been allegedly siphoned indirectly into the pockets of the Somali terrorist group Al-Shabaab. Somali immigrants in Minnesota have reportedly been abusing systems meant to help the most unfortunate among us, including the latest federally funded autism services. The autism fraud scheme reportedly amassed $14 million through Medicare claims.
And before we get too far, let me tell you what Al-Shabaab means. Al-Shabaab means the youth. And it says this is a group of Islamist, militant, and terrorist group, the largest, wealthiest, and most lethal Al-Qaeda affiliate in the world today. That's who these people are, who they believe through this fraud of the Minnesotans, taxpayers, that money went into a terrorist organization. That's what, and where part of the money went on TMYK's watch.
For services that were never provided, involving kids who never had autism. And the Somali immigrants behind this web of schemes have allegedly stolen billions from taxpayers, much of the money going back to the Somali government, where it would then end up in the hands of terrorists. Manhattan Institute investigative reporter Ryan Thorpe was one of the first exposing the schemes for their ties to terrorism. With us now, Ryan, a line from your story stuck out. The largest funder of Al-Shabaab is the Minnesota taxpayer, and you cite an unnamed source for that. What is the evidence that all of this money that was taken and the billions upon billions of increased funding in Minnesota for social services ended up in Somalia?
Well, billions of dollars of government welfare money is missing in the state of Minnesota.
How do we define missing?
Well, the fraud is so bad that the U.S. Attorney's Office has come out and indicated that they believe their entire government programs, where the fraudulent claims outstrip the legitimate ones. There are cases where indictments have come down or guilty pleas are already in to the tunes of hundreds of millions of dollars that were fraudulently obtained, filing false claims alongside doctored paperwork. And the indictments are continuing to come. And The U.S. Attorney's Office has made very clear that this is a network of fraud schemes stacked upon fraud schemes, and that while the true dollar figure in terms of stolen funds at this point isn't quite clear, it's safe to say that we're talking about billions of dollars.
Okay. It's pretty wild, some of the things that you lay out, including one group called Feeding the Future that went from getting $3.4 million in 2019 to $200 million 2 years later. They grew faster than NVIDIA. How did nobody see that? Or is it that people and the government and those who are supposed to be the watchdogs, like Tim Walz, like Keith Ellison, the Attorney General there, just weren't looking?
I think it's safe to say that there was a real unwillingness or inability among Democratic state officials in Minnesota to recognize some pretty obvious alarm bells.
And in that, they mentioned Keith Ellison. You know who he was? He was Barack Obama's Attorney General. And you know how they give Pam Bondi so much flack, saying that she is working for Donald Trump, which she shouldn't be. She just was appointed by him. But she is to uphold the law. Even if he does something wrong, she should bring it out, right? Keith Ellison said that he was Obama's right-hand man, period. He said that. I'm his man. I work with Obama. But nobody had nothing to say. But they questioned Bondi when she and her commitment to her job over her submission to Donald J. Trump. She is not committed or submitted to him. She's submitted and committed to her job. And he is not above the law, and she knows that.
Here, all across these programs, claims were skyrocketing, absolutely spiraling out of control over a short period of time. And the reality is that the Somali community, which is where these large-scale fraud rings have been concentrated within this population in the state, it is a sizable voting bloc. It is a voting bloc you have to win if you're going to win political office in Minneapolis. And so I think that was likely a incentive here that made some people not want to look too closely at what's been going on.
As you see, they have basically swindled Minnesotans out of $1 billion+. That is the thing. And the question is, do you believe that Ilhan Omar, do you believe that she had no idea that this was happening among her people? Her people. I'm just asking the question. Let's look at her with the interview that she did here. Do a couple of things on her. We're going to get up out of here.
This week, we saw the Trump administration target Jimmy Kimmel, bringing the full weight of a federal agency against him. We also saw some Republicans unleash vile, racist, and threatening rhetoric toward Congresswoman Ilhan Omar after her comments on Charlie Kirk's assassination. Congresswoman Nancy Mace led an effort to censure Omar. It ultimately failed, but that only fueled even more grotesque and hateful language, not just from people like conspiracy theorist Laura Loomer and Republican Congressman Randy Fine, who are calling for her to be banned from Congress and even deported, but also directly from the president himself. President Trump went on social media and basically had a tirade targeting Omar and her home country, Somalia, saying in part, "What scum do we have in our country?" And on Thursday, aboard Air Force One, he said this.
I love these people that come from a place with nothing, no anything, and then they tell us how to run our country. Now, I think if she got censored, that's great. If she got impeached, that's even better. They impeached me twice for nothing, and they impeached me knowing the Republicans are on my side.
As you see, here, they're on Trump and what Trump is saying, and Trump is talking about the things that they have done, things she have said. She said horrific things about Charlie Kirk, basically saying that he deserved it. And these are things that they were censoring her about and really want her kicked out of Congress for. Just reprehensible statements of that nature. But we're going to see what she has to say in this interview.
Know that you have received messages and voicemails from people threatening you. How are you holding up first?
You know, I've been here before. I've been the target of the president in the most vile, bigoted, racist ways that you could imagine. And I've had to have full police detail because of that. So it is surprising that he's back at it, because I thought he's moved on and found a new person to harass. But here's, you know, a president that is always unhinged, always deranged, always creating chaos and division. And he seems to have a real obsession with...
The president of the United States had been shot at, threatened, a couple of attempts on his life. He's called everything under the sun. But they think that what they're saying does not cause hatred. They think, what's wrong with them? They think what they say don't bring even possibly ill will to them, because you're talking about somebody that people understand is not a racist, is not a fascist, is not a dictator. And those are the furthest things from his mind. And you do it day in and day out. And you think because he retaliates sometimes. No, he don't retaliate. He has called a spade a spade. No, you a dumbass. No, you full of shit. And he don't say it like that and certain things, but he said it in a way that it offends you. And he has the problem. But you can call him anything, everything but God's child, and there's no issue with that. Oh, okay. Okay.
Anyone that is an immigrant in this country that is not of European descent, you don't hear him talking about the accent of his wife and, you know, the fact that she came here as an immigrant or any of those things, or the fact that she gets to have an opinion even though nobody elected her into.
She has an opinion now. What are you talking about? Accent, what accent has he talked about? She has duties as the first lady. Yes, she does. Did you say anything when Miss Biden was going around and doing different things, having different conversations? What are you talking about? But they come up with this bullshit. And you go for it, people. They just talk bullshit and you all just eat it up like candy. And you should be ashamed of yourself that you can't hear and call a spade a spade.
Office, but he has an objection to a person who does serve over 700,000 constituents in Congress, who's literally elected, has the same certificate as he does. But I think for me is I feel embarrassed for him, because in these attacks, what he does, and I think with the likes of Nancy Mace and whoever that Randy guy is, they expose themselves for how stupid they are. And that is embarrassing for us as a country, because these are people who are elected to positions of leadership. He's supposed to be the president of the United States, who's heading off to Europe to represent us. When he does, he's uneducated enough to understand that members of Congress can't be impeached. You know, when you have Nancy and Randy saying, you know, we're on it, we're going to impeach her. When they're saying they're going to deport me, knowing full well that you cannot deport an American citizen. What that displays for not just Americans.
You can deport a traitor. You can deport a traitor. And that's what she is. She's a traitor. Period. She's not for this country. Period.
But folks on an international platform is that our country is being led by idiots. And that is not something that we should be comfortable with as Americans, and that's not something that should make us proud. And so in this moment, I feel great sadness as an American that these are the kind of people that the world gets to see representing us.
So what do you think is at play here then? If these people are, as you say, idiots and don't understand the kind of basic responsibilities they either have and the powers that they have in Congress or in the presidency, what do you think is the animating factor behind why they come after you with such venom and vitriol?
Yeah, it's to gin up hate and then to turn it around, to be able to raise money, to rattle their base. And I think ultimately is to get enough people to bully us into silence.
Enough of the bullshit. You and the side, you all are doing everything every day to try to silence. You all are trying to stop ICE from doing their job every day. You support that. But now people are trying to silence you. Give me a break. These people are, it's like she said, and y'all don't understand. She's not talking about Donald Trump. She's talking about this country. She's talking about this country and where we are as a nation and how stupid we are that they have been able to bamboozle Minnesota out of over $1 billion, lying about autism, lying about feeding the hungry. And they have the audacity to say, don't worry about that. Let's just worry about Donald Trump and what he's doing. Don't worry about none of that. Let's hear what Donald Trump did call her.
I think that Waltz is a grossly incompetent man. There's something wrong with him, okay? There's something wrong with him. And when you look at what he's done with Somalia, which is barely a country, you know, they have no anything. They just run around killing each other. There's no structure. And when I see somebody like Ilhan Omar, who I don't know at all, but I always watch her for years. I've watched her complain about our Constitution, how she's being treated badly. Our Constitution, the United States of America, is a bad place. Hates everybody, hates Jewish people, hates everybody. And I think she's an incompetent person. She's a real terrible person. But when I watch what is happening in Minnesota, the land of 1,000 lakes or however many lakes they have, they got a lot of lakes, but this beautiful place, and I see these people ripping it off, and now I'm understanding, and you're going to look at that, Scott, I hear they ripped off Somalians, ripped off that state for billions of dollars, billions, every year, billions of dollars, and they contribute nothing. The welfare is like 88%. They contribute nothing. I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you, okay? Somebody would say, oh, that's not politically correct. I don't care. I don't want them in our country. Their country's no good for a reason. Their country.
I love it. I love this dude. Tell it the way it is. No, we're not being politically correct. It's time for the truth to be told and to be told uncut.
Country stinks, and we don't want them in our country. I can say that about other countries too. I can say it about other countries too. We don't want them to hell. We have to rebuild our country. You know, our country's at a tipping point. We could go bad. We're at a tipping point. I don't know if people mind me saying that, but I'm saying it. We could go one way or the other, and we're going to go the wrong way if we keep taking in garbage into our country. Ilhan Omar is garbage. She's garbage. Her friends are garbage. These aren't people that work. These aren't people that say, let's go, come on, let's make this place great. These are people that do nothing but complain. They complain. And from where they came from, they got nothing. You know, they came from paradise, and they said, this isn't paradise. But when they come from hell, and they complain, and do nothing but bitch, we don't want them in our country. Let them go back to where they came from and fix it. Okay. Thank you very much, everybody.
Let them go back to where they came from and fix it. Ilhan Omar came here when she was a little girl, I think about 8 or 9 years old from what I understand. And they were refugees coming from her homeland because her family was threatened. But now her homage is to them and not to America, which gave her and her family the opportunity to be successful, even to the point that look where she sits now, sit at now. She sits on a seat in Congress. That's how great this country is. But look, let's see her thankfulness. How do you feel about America?
Hate, but a fear, a legitimate fear, they say.
Let's go back.
A lot of conservatives in particular would say that the rise in Islamophobia is a result not of hate, but a fear, a legitimate fear, they say, of quote-unquote jihadist terrorism, whether it's Fort Hood or San Bernardino or the recent truck attack in New York. What do you say to them?
I would say our country should be more fearful of white men across our country, because they are actually causing most of the deaths within this country.
The white man who gave her and her family an opportunity to be successful, gave them opportunity to live. White people run this country, people. I'm not ashamed to say it. I don't feel nothing by saying it. It's just a fact. But I can have whatever I want in this country. Through capitalism, I have not been limited to anything. Anything that I lack is because of me. It's not because of anything that they have done in my life. I've owned businesses. I've worked in high positions on jobs, not having a college education or a high school diploma, a high school, I forget what you call it, I don't have a high school diploma. I got my GED, and I worked on jobs where I've been in meetings with VPs, district managers. I've had a couple of restaurants. Nobody has stopped me but me. We have to understand that. But this is the things that she gives to our country and those here. And you know what's the cool part about it? I guarantee you, none of what she's saying has affected her and her people, if you go check.
And so if fear was the driving force of policies to keep America safe, Americans safe inside of this country, we should be profiling, monitoring, and creating policies to fight the radicalization of white men.
Wow. White men. White men who are trying to protect this country. White men who goes to war to protect us. And you're saying it's a fallacy. You're saying they're not trying to protect us. You're telling this country, basically, you're telling all non-whites we should be standing up against white people. That's what you're saying. All non-whites should be standing up against white people. That's not somebody who means this country no good. If you think that is somebody who means this country good, I got a bridge to sell you. Let's go here to this brother, Ruben. I just like the way he was able to summarize this thing here. Check this out.
Somalis are not terrorizing this nation. We are helping it thrive.
But speaking of disasters, let's talk about Hamas caucus member and Somali supremacist Ilhan Omar. Here she is. There's been a lot of problems with the local Somali neighborhood in Minnesota. We'll get to that in just a second. But here she is talking about the importance of Somalis as it pertains to the fabric of America.
Somalis are not terrorizing this nation. We are helping it thrive. Somalis have always seen as a fabric, has seen themselves as the fabric of this nation. So not only are we not going anywhere, we are not going to allow anybody to make us feel less Minnesotan.
You see the smugness? We done got over on you. We done became citizens, and ain't a damn thing you can do about it. That's what she's saying. We here, and you done gave us citizenship, and we know your laws. Like I said about these illegal immigrants crossing our borders. How do you cross our borders and then try to use our laws to maintain your state and our country? This is how silly they think we are. When she made that statement, she wasn't talking about Donald Trump now. She was talking about America and those who live here. They're the fabric of our country now. What? Okay. You don't speak the language. How are you the fabric? This is a Christian nation. You're Muslim. Nothing against Muslims, but you're Muslims. And Muslims and Christians think differently. So how are you a fabric to our country when you're up under a whole nother type of religious doctrine? Our country was founded on Christian values. The Holy Bible, not the Quran.
Or less American.
Okay, first off, look, obviously the truth is that are there individual Somalis who are perfectly great people who love America and everything else? Yes. Is she one of them? And are the people that love her those types of people? No, they're not. And by the way, what's been going on with the Somali community in Minnesota right now? Listen to this from the New York Post. We should have covered the story in a bigger way. I mean, it's a crazy scandal that's coming out of Minnesota right now. Somali terror group Al-Shabaab taking a cut of millions in stolen Minnesota taxpayer money from welfare fraud scheme. So this is a huge problem that is now coming out of Minnesota. And we know that they are campaigning in Somali. Ilhan Omar is talking about how the real country she loves is Somalia, and she'd be happy to be kicked out of America and everything else. And of course, what does she say about those of us who vote a different way? Take a look.
So we are sick and tired of the president waking up one day and deciding to put forth falsehoods and demonize whole communities, while the ignorant people that support him then take the lies that he's spreading and use it as a fact.
The ignorant people that support him. You know, lady, I don't like you very much. And I get it that you somehow became an American. It had something to do with immigration fraud, or at least for your brother when you married him. And somebody should look into that. I keep asking, the woman married her brother.
There is a thing that she claims that she married her brother to gain him citizenship. And they just swept it under the rug. They swept it under the rug. Nobody talks about it. But somebody should get into that and find out, because if they can prove that she's done that, she's out of here. If they can show that she's done that, she's out of here. Let's continue.
Privacy. I thought this was interesting as it pertains to where people come from and their contribution to America. And I'll give you a little context for this in just a second. But this is lifetime contribution per immigrant. So meaning immigrants that come from North America, they contribute about over $570,000 in their lifetime. From Scandinavia, over $550,000. We can jump around. Japan, over $500,000. Somalia, net negative 1.1 million, meaning that that's the drain in society that they are on. Middle East, negative 624,000. Latin America, negative 271,000. Let me give you a little context for what this is. So the lifetime contribution means net fiscal impact that an average immigrant has on the country over an entire lifetime, including all taxes they pay, minus all government benefits and public services they receive. So meaning if an immigrant comes here who's already from North America, because they're not taking a lot and they are contributing a lot, the country generates revenue on them. And then there's other people, and the Somali one was the was the glaring one there. It's a negative $1.1 million per person. Like, does this really make sense? And by the way, guys, we know this is happening all over the world.
All right, so you see that. So you see that there, that was Ilhan Omar. So the question that I have again, do you believe that she was totally ignorant to what was going on in Minnesota when it comes to the Somalians and their scheme to basically take over $1 billion from Minnesota? Do you believe that she had any idea of that? And me personally, yes. But that's my opinion. Just my opinion. But we will see at the end of the day. Because if we can't deport you, we damn sure can put you in jail. If we can show that you had anything to do with this embezzlement, that you were lying. And we're going to bring some things out even later. I'm going to show you, because she was involved in the feeding. They show pictures of her bringing stuff to different shelters and things. But you know what? But you know what we realizing now was? As they always said about Donald Trump, it was a photo op. They were photo ops to fool the people. But anyway, I hope that you all got something from this. And if you've enjoyed it, will you please like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, love on each other and be good one to another. Peace.